They'll be calling you a radical. Smoky Mountain rain keeps calling my name. I'm headed to Tennessee. I'm very excited. I love history, and you know me, I love music, and I love literature, and I love art. That's the one thing that Americana that has always kept me going, is classic literature from this country and great lyrics. Classic literature has always talked so much about Tennessee. I can't wait to see the landscape. As you know, I like to walk, you know, and absorb. I've been all over this country this year. I protested with the Tiananmen Square dissidents in Times Square in their cage. I've been in Pacific Beach with the Navy personnel suing for the death they were given on the USS Reagan. I've been at Alexander Hamilton's grave lecturing, at Washington Square with all great activists freaking meet where everything that ever happened was born. In Eugene, Oregon with the hypocrites as they yawn, but their kids don't yawn. I've been all over. It's amazing the places I've been. I led the Million Masked Man March in DC with a police escort. Ran and raid in front of the White House with 5,000 people looking on, with millions looking on all over the world. But this in Tennessee will be bigger than all of it. This will be historical, of epic proportion, good versus evil. Remember this. Megan Rice, Greg, and Michael's protest at Y12 was a protest that the Americans are breaking the law. They're breaking the international treaty signed, which we are grotesquely. They don't care about the nuclear cartel, and think about the nuclear cartel and the nuclear powers. Barbara Boxer's office, which I educated. Let's talk about us as vloggers and bloggers. I got a phone call today from a professor in Asia, in Japan, who says, I met with the UN head of foreign minister, head in Japan. He met with him, talked to him, thousands of employees. I showed him Bobby One's blog, who, by the way, Bobby One and I, that's who I stayed with when I was in DC and Baltimore. Talking about how the emperor's house was contaminated and how they fled in Japan. He kind of blew it off. He didn't know. He says, God, show me that link. And he says, I kept showing it and finally went. He says, how the fuck can you not know? Barbara Boxer's office didn't know. I educated Barbara Boxer's office. They didn't know about the freaking death zone of San Onofre and the corruption. I did so much of this from my hospital room in critical condition, given 2 months to live. I mean, all but dead. Platelet counts of fucking 20 and 30 walking around these fucking streets of America. Wow. As I've had to be the investigative journalist, I've had to be the counter to the false bravado fucking arrogant, rejected fucking media, which is not media. I've had to be all of this. People say, oh, your arrogant style. Fuck my arrogant style? Let me tell you about your passive, aggressive, arrogant style. Ken, who used dilution, that word, from Wood Holes. Chris Busby used dilution. Chris Busby sent me emails when I was almost dead in critical condition. Capital, I'm Chris Busby. Going off on me, attacking me. I saved all these. Gunderson attacked. Gunderson's a shill, paid by the nuclear industry. Busby's paid by the nuclear industry. Ken from Wood Hole, paid by, I can prove it. I saved all these things. The attacks that I've been under, aren't you dead yet? Here, smoke, I mean, but I've stood because I have strong shoulders, and I was picked this place and time. Somebody says, aren't you afraid? You know, the dean at the university says, you've been so hardcore anti-nuclear for so long, I think they sent you leukemia in the mail. I said, they didn't have to send it to me in the fucking mail. They sent it to all of us in the fucking mail. It's called the jet stream, including you. Jan, Miss Milky the Clown. So many of us different vloggers and protesters and truth tellers, all of you have underestimated the power of YouTube. It's a genre, my art movement, my poet, you've underestimated it. It's simultaneous around the world. My uncle, the neurosurgeon, gave a lecture in Hong Kong a long time ago in front of thousands of people. In the Q&A, somebody asked him, are you related to Kevin Blanch? I see your last name's Blanch. He says, yeah. He says, 200 people, young people, stood up and roared, come up, wanted his autographs. Says, these videos have been mirror image. Here's the crossover of this dynamic of 3/11/11. You can say all you want, it's the greatest catastrophe in human history. It breaks down all. We understand the power of the banking cartel. We absolutely understand that power. Goldman Sachs got paid 100% of the dollar. AIG, the insurance cartel. The insurance industry is a mob from hell, a cartel here in the United States. But they are pale in comparison to the nuclear cartel. Ask Barbara Boxer's office. She went crazy, went after the NRC. You hear anything, Adama? We called for hearings, got hearings. They committed fraud on the San Larbert that I exposed in detail. Why sick? People should have gone to jail. You heard anything from it? No, because they pushed underground. The Patriot Act gave them more, wielding more power. And the American populace, how pathetic. As CBS posted a poll yesterday, says, oh, the majority of Americans still want Snowden in jail. Number one, if you believe fucking polls, think about this right here in our district. Had Mia Love up on Matheson 14 points, yet Matheson won by 4. You can't trust any, it's all corrupt. The nuclear cartel in Japan, these laws that have been pushed across that they're jailing people, which they've been doing for a long time. You think about that, just that alone. The cover up of the media, that alone. But here's where it crosses over. The powers there be, these evil fucks, this sucked up fucking thing, marine biologists, none of them work. All these people, ministries of health, all these so-called powers, they're just titles and names. No, but none of them work. I've had to be all of this, why critical condition. I've had to be the on-the-ground reporter. I've had to be the scientist. I've had to be the nuclear physicist. I've had to be the artist. I've had to wear all these fucking hats for free, why broke, in critical condition, with no funding, when these institutions that are supposed to protect us are funded by fucking millions, if not billions, of taxpayer money, including marine biologists. They don't work, they don't do anything. But here's the crossover. The powers there be, they're getting afraid because they know they can't hide from this one. There's no hiding from this one. This will kill from A to Z. Doesn't give a fuck about your socioeconomic fucking status. Doesn't give a fuck. If you don't believe me, ask fucking Steve Jobs. One of the richest men in the world. It took him fucking cancer, killed him. It's gonna kill a lot of these elite fucking pricks. You know, maybe fucking, as I call Barack Obama the greatest Uncle Tom in history. Him and John Boehner, think about this. They can go have a cigarette together. They scoff and laugh at cancer. Barack's mother was a downwind, or died very young of downwind fucking nuclear fallout cancer, as that fucking spread across southern Utah and Kansas and Oklahoma. You don't want to talk about that. They scoff, they laugh. They'll have another fucking party at the fucking White House. Invite Sanjay Gupta, a neurosurgeon, who says radiation's good for you. Didn't kill anybody in Japan. Know this factually. The Nuclear Regulatory Committee, I have their tapes and I've listened to it in detail. I have them. Recommended the evacuation of Tokyo. That is a fact, unarguable fact. They recommended it. The cover-up in Japan is the cover-up in the U.S. I call it the Pacific Genocide. I called it Nukegate with a central line hanging out of my fucking jugular vein in support of Pussy Riot Femen. You fucks go in denial all you want. I will be the on-the-ground reporter in Tennessee. My radio show will be live from the steps. I'm excited to see the beautiful historic landscape. I'm excited to see the nuns who I've been tied with from the very inception. I met Megan Rice in the Nevada test site a long, long time ago. The government's painted themselves into a corner on this one. They should never charge her under the Patriot Act. What a mistake they made. Oh, did they make a mistake. It's always been for these nuclear cartel. Heads they win, tails they freaking win. Not this time. No matter what you do to Megan now, history's got it nailed down and recorded. Heads you lose, tails you lose. This is a quintessential historical fight between good and evil. And to stand on the side of good has always been abstract in a literal way, but a figurative way, it's concrete as it gets. The very few. Tom Brown, Harriet Beecher Stowe. You can go on and on. Michelangelo. All of them. It's 1 in a million. To be a contemporary sheep right now is on the wrong side of history and is the supporter of evil. To tell the truth, Fukushima, the nuclear radiation cartel, and 3/11 changed it all. It is the date that will live in infamy, and January 28, 2013 will live in infamy, be written back from centuries. It took an 83-year-old nun, the protege of Dorothy Day, one of the greatest human rights activists in world history, Dr. Rice's daughter. the most peace-loving Christian, well, not even Christian, the most peace-loving, truth-telling, honest, her, Greg, and Michael. And the Pay the Dragon Slayer, queen-loving, freaking feudal-eyed, neo-epic feudalism has returned. And Longshanks is going to put William Wallace in a jail cell. That's all right. William Wallace was a real man. Freedom. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Somebody says, aren't you afraid, Kevin? And I said, no, because all those angels, they watch over me. All these angels right here. The leukemia ones that have passed, that's who I'm fighting for. You know, their children, yeah, they're little kids. I'm not fighting for their family members. I love their family members. I'm fighting for everybody. I don't want anybody, but I'm fighting for the people that died of this disease, my friends, my very close, loving friends, my family. I've watched too many of them go. They are not here on this earth to fight, so I'm fighting for them, and they watch over me. See in Tennessee, Smoky Mountain rain keeps calling my name. Stay tuned.